Man, how do they do it? They work so fast. It worked the analyst standing here. Well, anyways, this is the better show. Welcome in from Blast TV. Thank you so much for watching. This is Blast Overtime, joined by Mahone. You know him from the Mahone Zone. He's here to do some live segments. And TeSeS. TeSeS. It could have been under better conditions. I want to say, at the very least, I know this doesn't matter to individuals, okay? But you played well. I kept talking about you. You had some good rounds.
Yeah, well, as you say, it doesn't really matter since you're not winning the whole game. And yeah, of course. Yeah, good to hear you're still hyped. But yeah, of course it could be under better circumstances and could have won the game, but just sometimes how it is and have to build up from that, so everything is all right still.
How'd your break go? Because I mean, coming into this match before it started, you had like a 1.28 rating as an entry fragger, opening kill, success rate, attempt rate. You were by far and away the best on the roster. Were you just grinding face it the whole time, or? In
the break? No, not at all actually. We had a little more holiday in Abu Dhabi, and then we went home, and I spent Christmas with my family, and didn't have a PC with me at all. And then I got sick right after Christmas, all the way to the 5th of January, and have only played DM in that time, so it was like an hour of DM every day. But yeah, then we came back, and then we had a bootcamp, and that was very giving. To be able to come back in the practice mode and the game mode. So yeah, that's basically what my...
How do you feel about, do you feel recharged? I saw this meme that said, every time I go on vacation, I don't come back feeling refreshed. I come back with a taste of freedom in my mouth and remember that I have to go back to a job that I don't want to do for the rest of my life. Is that how you feel?
No, not at all. I wish I could do this the rest of my life. I would want to play CS, as I wouldn't be spending as much time on it as I do. And with this team, it's just more motivating than ever. So every time you come back from a break, you look forward to meet the other guys and have as much fun as we have out of the server, but also in the server. So yeah, definitely feeling recharged after a holiday, even though it wasn't that long. But yeah, definitely recharged.
I want to ask, you mentioned that boot camp, and there's some interviews that have happened from, I think, cadiaN and Ston, that boot camp was actually a rough time. cadiaN was giving you guys a pretty hard time. Can you kind of describe what that boot camp actually entailed and what kind of things?
You can swear, by the way.
Yeah, okay. You can say, yeah.
Well, yeah, it was rough. It was some of the first days of practice when we were back, so of course mistakes are going to happen. Yep. But it all came down to people not being 100% focused in what we're doing, and we made a lot of mistakes and some stupid mistakes. That's fair, and when you do that, then Kasper is really good at having these expectations to each other, and he's gonna tell you if it's not good enough, and he did that, and he helped with getting everybody back on track and keeping up this high level that we want to have. So it's healthy for us to be able to have these expectations to each other. I think that's why we are so consistent, such a consistent team. So every time we go down a bit, Kasper is instantly there to say, guys, this is not good enough, and yeah, then we're gonna up ourselves.
This matchup was kind of the hardest one for you so far in the groups, and it was a fun conclusion for the fans. Unfortunately, I think it would have been a good result either way. But Nuke was where you started seeing success, and it feels like where you got switched on. And of course, after the cadiaN 1v5, then you start pulling out the rounds after that where you're losing a lot of players, but you're still winning. You're grinding through.
Yeah.
It kind of felt like when you played against Liquid at Rio, where it was an overpass comeback, and then you just denied it 3 T rounds in a row. So can you talk about what happened in that moment?
Yeah, well, it's weird with us. Sometimes we can just have a bad period, a bad first map, but then we're just there from the start on the second map. Here in Nuke, though, there was a lot of round back and forth in the start, and then we kind of built momentum on the T side after the cadiaN clutch, of course. And yeah, we just have a lot of confidence when we can feel our momentum and when we can feel our energy being there and our focus being there 100%, and we know we can win from, it doesn't matter what the score is. A little rage there.
You're able to hold it in.
Close to it at least. Yeah, when we feel that we're there 100%, then it doesn't matter what the score is. We know we can come in.
I want to ask, actually, just because you mentioned cadiaN, I kind of want to ask, you've actually played under a couple other Danish IGLs as well. You played with Huxi, you've also played with MSL, and I assume that these all kind of give like different perspectives and just ways of looking at the game. Like, so I'm just kind of curious, like, what are your thoughts on all these different IGLs and how they kind of compare to like what cadiaN does for you guys?
Yeah, well, I only played with Huxi for like 3 months, and he didn't really have the freedom of doing his own thing back then because we like plug in and play. So I wouldn't. The things I think about him from that time is far from what he is now. He's much better IGL now and has learned much through the years, as we can see how he's playing today. And with Missile, of course, it's MSL is a whole kind of different story. And for me back then, obviously it was a step up and there was a lot of new things I was learning. But then I moved on to cadiaN and it was like a much higher level and much more dynamic. And the freedom he gives to his players is something you learn much more of. And all the decision makings you're taking with Kasper is so much more valuable than just being micromanaged all the time.
It's obviously a focal point of the team for a lot of different conversations. Emotionally is the big one, I think, on top of like the great moments. And we have the 1v5 to show you guys that we can talk about. But actually, why don't we break that down? We've got some good comms here.
Kigger hæk tæt. Han er foran målåen. Foran målhæk.
Ned bag skroen.
Død hæk. En mere kommer nok. Jeg ved ikke. Vi har ikke set magisk. Nej, det var magisk. 11. Sygt. 5. Tom. Du er fandme varm. Kom da! Vi skulle lade skide på det der, det er lundniveau. Kom nu.
Okay, what is a Stound level clutch?
Well, Martin also always has this way of clutching. He's outplaying his opponent really well, and his mechanical skills with like out-aiming his opponents and everything, like Kasper did in this clutch with shooting the guy up at the ramp and then in the vents afterwards. And yeah, he's doing all these crazy things with with mechanics, Martin, and Kasper felt he did that there, and he definitely did, and delivered an insane clutch.
I got a question. So does cadiaN clutch like that in scrims as well?
Yeah, he definitely has a lot of clutches up in his sleeve in the practice as well. And I think everyone has that in the team. Everyone has insane clutches and insane individual plays, so it's not just unofficials.
It's not just unofficials, okay.
No, we've got a moment where comms can get out of hand on Heroic, okay, because they do get crazy sometimes. So let's see when it goes wrong.
Måske vindue, Ras. Eller jungle.
Ja, jeg holder vinduet.
Løb af! All in af! Kom, Jacob!
Jeg kan være langt ud af.
En af vindue. Kan du løbe CT?
Ja, jeg løber.
Måske en latter.
Løb CT. Ja, jeg skal lige en latter. Jeg sidder gemt til lige nu.
Ned på midten, eller? Kom, 3, 2, 1, kom. Op, vindue! Ned igen. Begge. Chille, Kasper. Begge.
Kan jeg ikke midt.
Okay, begge er der.
Jeg kommer ikke til at bruge vinduet. Jeg skal løbe nu, René. Løb lidt for skidt her. Der er 15 sek.
Hvad så?
Jeg er en af Apex stadig. Nå, er væk fra Apex. Rolig. Det skal nok, ikke?
Det har kendt.
Jeg ser mig ikke Tetris.
Jeg trykker bare lige nu.
Tetris, ingen armor. Nice,
mand.
Sådan, René.
Godt spillet. Godt snakket. Kan du lide vokal der, Jacob, da jeg ser det der?
Ja, det var nice.
Just kidding. The comms never go badly on Heroic. It was all a ruse.
Yeah, well, I think Kasper said it pretty well, and he's good at complimenting himself in the end. But yeah, he's highlighting a lot that everyone is turning around to A from Vitality. So it's like he's highlighting that it's 100% sure they're gonna go A, and that's just good comms by him, and then maybe escalates a little bit in the middle. But we end up like playing good off each other, and I get a good play with pushing A, and yeah. So
I got a question actually about that. cadiaN's supposed to, I guess, to the outside, he's supposed to be the hype man of the team, right? But a lot of times, like on other teams, it's usually somebody who's not the IGL. So my question is, who's the second person who's most hype on your team?
Yeah, well, I would like to say myself.
We were hearing you through the wall when we were casting.
Well, I'm trying to yell as much as possible, but I can't out-yell Kasper, that's for sure. I think that's impossible when he goes in that mode. But everyone is hyping on their own, like their own style. Rasmus and Jacob are maybe more like quietly and not yelling as much, but they're also giving extremely good hype. And they're hyping like with an intense voice and saying, René, you did this really fucking good. And so that's also a way of hyping hyping in our team, and we know that we don't have to yell and go crazy all the time. So yeah, it's a good mix of everyone. Everyone is really good at hyping.
We actually just pulled up the wrong clip because it was a heroic style vertigo double fake. We've got the bad comms here right now.
Jeg har molo jungle. Flash er kon. Han optikker, tror jeg. Har vi prøvet at flash rush? Jeg flasher kon. Jeg har flasher kon. Jeg har flasher kon. Nice. En med CT.
Jeg gør det. Jeg venter lidt med at plante.
Ja, en med CT.
Jeg ikke
Han er frem ticket.
3 mod 3.
Jeg er helt op ticket.
Jeg er gået rundt til slisken.
Kom ind. Vi kan godt arbejde med L4.
Det er sagtens. 100.
That was a lie.
Well, what was supposed to happen there, I think the intention was that the person who was towards triple, it seemed like he was expecting the Palace person to kind of cover him, but then that cover didn't really come. So that's what it was supposed to be. But regardless, you guys always have really hype comms and really good stuff. But I kind of want to ask about something that we always talk about from the broadcast sound as well as other teams is your guys' CT proactivity. And I just kind of want to ask, like, how do you guys kind of get into that mindset where you're able to do that?
Yeah, well, of course, it's about the philosophies and like our belief in our system. And if you don't have your belief in your system, then why are you having that system? Of course, we want to follow it 100%, and sometimes it's also just hard to follow because if everyone is not there 100%, then we don't have the right information, and we're not the right to, or we don't like get to take the right decision because we don't have all the information. So everyone has to be there to be able to do the system. And I think we have so much belief in ourselves and in Kasper and his philosophies about the game. And obviously it's working for us. We are on a high level all the time, most of the time. And we are able to make deep runs. And I think the only part missing is us to be more consistent on that very high level so we can bring home trophies more often. So yeah, that's what we're looking for right now.
Feels like being creative is a huge part of being a heroic player. So when it comes, I always think about sustainability. Like staying at the top is hard for everybody. Yeah. But when you play such different rounds every single time you play an official, how do you continue to stay creative? Do you try to bring ideas for theoried mid-round situations that might occur in practice? Do you talk about them beforehand and try to predict like how crazy rotations might occur when you would leave a site completely open? Or do you just go into the match and then see what happens, let your players be creative, and then talk about why it was good or bad after?
No, as you say, it is possible to predict a lot of things that can happen in the game, and you can see in the meta what people like to do, and then you have talked about what you want to do against that and that and that. So you know basically all the outcomes. Of course, there's new outcomes every time, and sometimes you have to be creative mid-round and mid-game in the officials, as we are, and that is the time where you can kind of make mistakes and stuff and so on. But most of the time we have been able to talk about it beforehand, before we go into the official, and we know which plays are going to work most of the time. It all just comes down to which round we do it in and which timing we're doing it on, and we're really most of the time really good at seeing these openings and know which timings we have to go on. So yeah, it's something we have talked about before going in, but it's also very much to each individual to call it in the game and to make these plays.
Yeah. So one thing about you is you're more of the entry type of player on this team, and I actually have a clip that we kind of want to talk about here. So I actually broke this down on the broadcast. Oh, I need to turn this on. I actually broke this down on the broadcast, but I kind of want to hear your thoughts on this to see like how well they match up. So I'm first going to show the clip here. So it's this round here against Astralis. I think, okay, it's a little bit laggy on my side, so hopefully it's fine on the TV. Oh no. Oh no. Connection in progress right now. Yeah, I got some tech issues. But I'll just describe the round as hopefully this connects back. Basically, the round is like you guys are going to set up for an A exec, just the match against Astralis. You throw a flash towards bottom ramp, and then you use that flash to come down towards the ramp side. Then cadiaN throws the 2 lamp flashes, and then Shush throws the flashes off Palace, and then you come and you kill the player under Balk, and you also kill Glaive in that default position. So can you just describe what each of those flashes helps helps you with?
Yeah, well, as you say, we have kind of different steps with the flashes. So we're gonna, I also believe Jacob is flashing close ramp.
Yeah.
So we're using 2 flashes to the close positions, and if they're standing there, then we're able to trade that out, or at least have a chance of getting a good entry. So if anyone was to be able to play close ramp, as many people do, then we would flash them off and be able to take the treacherous control first and run up towards under the balcony, towards the default side, and that's where the Casper's flashes, cadiaN flashes, or the lamp flashes is also helping me with coming up from the ramp, and then Rasmus flashes from out of Palace is gonna flash the bench player and the default position and CT's angles off like away, and that kind of clears the path for me to run under the bridge and shooting the guy under there, and then turning to default.
Yeah.
And sometimes I can run to the triple box, and sometimes we're going to take top connector or flash CT, whatever, it depends on the situation.
It's you. You say, I'm not coming out A side unless everybody's playing.
He's got like 8 flashes already. Yeah, it's a shame that I can't really play this right now. Yeah, that's a tech issue, but that's a great explanation because, I think what I want to ask for that was, like, would you use that same pathing where you go towards default if even any of those flashes was missing? Like, let's just say if you didn't have that Palace flash, would you still use that same pathing, or would you go sandwich instead?
There's a lot of different pathings on ramp, I would say. There's pathings where you would run towards sandwich, as you say, and it depends on the flashes you get, I think. Because if you only get a lamp flash and you get no like bench flashes or good CT flashes, then it's kind of rough to just run in on the default position. So the most default pathing, I would say, if it's not like a full execute with set flashes and everything, it would be towards the sandwich position, and also stand at Tetris. Many teams right now is standing at Tetris, and then they're going to molly on the ball and molly default and everything, just stand there and try and kill the CTs that are playing on the side. I think that those 2 are the most common ones.
Yeah. Do you have any personal goals? I talked to cadiaN the other day, and he was like, man, TeSeS, they had you on like 29th or something like that. I had you just outside of top 20, but as a core player on, almost said Astralis, a core player on Heroic, and somebody who's starting off with really high individual level, do you have any personal goals to be a top whatever player in the world? Is it anything you think about?
I answered this question a lot, and for me it doesn't matter at all with the top 20 and so on, top 30, whatever it's going to be now. It's cool to see people getting there, and it's really nice for those people that gets there. It's an achievement, of course, but first in line is always going to be the team, and I don't care if I have the bad stats if you're going to win the whole tournament or like win tournaments. Then I would gladly sit with a 0.80 or something. I would just want to win. And I think that's the beautiful part about our team. Of course, we think we should be there, but it's not like it matters, and we don't play for individual stats as some other players do. We're playing for the team, and we're playing for the wins, and we're playing the percentages when we're playing. So I think that's my mindset, at least.
So just wrapping up with you here, we've got one last question. It's an exclusive show only on Blast TV. So we sourced the chat for questions, and YOLO wants to ask you, what is it like playing with an IGL like cadiaN, and do the comms only provide good moments? Does it create too much chaos? Can it be distracting playing with someone like cadiaN?
I think, first of all, it's amazing to play with cadiaN. He's a great guy, and he's an even better in-game leader and a captain. He's born a leader, and he makes everyone better in his team. And to play with him, it's only a good thing. Of course, if you're joining the first time and you're playing with him, then you might think, oh, this guy is crazy and he's yelling all the time. But when you're like good friends with him and you know him and how he's gonna be, then he's amazing to play with, and you're just taking you're getting all the energy he's giving, and you're just sucking all that energy into you when you're playing, and you just build up your own hype. And no, the comms, when it gets hectic and stuff, of course, it's something you have to get used to. On other teams, the comms are more calm, and some is even crazier. But yeah, I think it's on a good level in our team, because we know when we're highlighting stuff and when we're yelling, we know what it means, and it's not just unimportant info that is giving when we're yelling.
Right. Well, thank you so much for being on tonight. I think everything you said shows visibly when we see it on the cams. Mahone, thank you again. for being a co-host to the show. To everybody on Blast TV, thank you for joining us. It's exclusively on Blast TV, so, I mean, you're not going to hear this unless you're there. Make sure to come back tomorrow and the day after that and the day after that for more overtime action, and we'll see who the next guest will be. Good night, everybody.